All right, welcome back to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the terrifying folklore, the intersecting storylines, and just the absolute suspense of Taboo 2. If you're a fan of deep mythological horror and incredibly intricate village lore, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to break down exactly what went down on that fateful night, so you can really grasp the full picture of this chilling tale. Let's get into it.
Picture this for a second. You're sneaking back into a village at 2 a.m. You'd expect dead silence, right? But instead, you walk in to find the entire community wide awake. Every single person is locked indoors, huddled together, and just completely terrified of something lurking in the dark outside. That's exactly the scene city girls Ishita and Meghna, along with their friend Anuj, walked right into after a late-night trip to the old royal palace ruins. The village chief and the elders were absolutely paralyzed by fear. So the big question we have to ask is, what could possibly cause an entire village to panic like that in the middle of the night? Well, that brings us to Section 1, Terror of the Nishirmolo.
Listen, according to the village chief, the Nishirmolo are not your run-of-the-mill ghosts. We're talking about four massive, terrifying figures draped in these heavy brown cloaks, sporting glowing red eyes, and just roaming the streets carrying a literal coffin on their shoulders. And here's the truly horrifying part. If they see you, or honestly, if you even make eye contact with them, they take you instantly. In fact, earlier that very night, they had already snatched up two local guys, Sampat and Kapta, who were just hanging out outside playing cards.
But why the sudden absolute panic from the elders? Well, the number is 400. That's how many years it's been since the Nishirmolo were last seen. We're talking all the way back to the era of the old Maharaj. The village elders legitimately thought this evil was permanently sealed away centuries ago. So you can imagine, the sudden totally inexplicable reawakening of this ancient curse is profoundly alarming for them. They literally have zero modern defenses against something like this.
Moving on to Section 2, The Secret of Mrityunjay Amrit.
Now, you've got to remember why Ishita and Meghna are even putting themselves in this situation to begin with. They're on the hunt for the Mrityunjay Amrit. It's this legendary, mystical nectar hidden deep out in the village's agricultural fields. According to the source material, this nectar is an absolute panacea. We're talking about a literal cure-all for any and every disease. So, they aren't here for some spooky ghost hunting. They're desperate seekers looking for a straight-up medical miracle.
And the lore behind this cure is just wild. It traces all the way back to the year 1600. A devastating epidemic hit the kingdom, wiping out people left and right. 4 years into that nightmare, the king's daughter, the princess, just vanishes. Poof, gone. But here's where it gets super strange. Exactly 1 year and 1 month later, she comes back. She flat out refused to say where she'd been, but she brought back this single seed. They plant it, and it grows into a massive, magical banyan tree that starts producing the Mrityunjay Amrit, effectively curing the whole kingdom.
But here's the catch, right? This life-giving tree doesn't just hand out miracles on demand. The nectar only drips during very, very specific lunar phases, specifically on Purnima, which is the full moon, and on Ekadashi nights. Because of this rigid celestial schedule, Ishita and Meghna are forced to stick around in the village a lot longer than they planned, unknowingly trapping themselves right as this ancient evil wakes up.
And this right here is the brilliant core conflict of the entire village lore. It's a total duality. On one hand, you have the incredibly dark, deathly nature of the Nishirmolo, this ancient force that just abruptly takes life away. And on the flip side, you have the healing, life-giving nature of the Mrityunjay tree, which actively preserves life. The village has literally become a battleground between a 400-year-old curse and a 400-year-old cure.
Which brings us to Section 3, the Tantric's terrifying ritual.
So to fight this, a junior tantric decides to step up and perform this highly methodical, super eerie ritual right in the dead center of the village. He gets a holy fire pit, an Agni Kund, all prepped. Then he actually places a kapal, a human skull, right there. Next, he positions a human bone nearby, and finally, he lights up 4 incense sticks to purify the area. And the tantric is confident, like really confident. He declares that once he starts this purification, absolutely nothing is going to interrupt him.
But, as you might guess, the supernatural has other plans. As the villagers are locking themselves away, the wind just starts howling, and then these terrifying sounds cut right through the night. Heavy, rhythmic footsteps, the agonizing creak of a massive wooden coffin getting closer and closer. The Nishirmolo have returned to the square, and it looks like they were drawn directly to the tantric's ritual.
Guys, the ritual is an absolute disaster. This 400-year-old evil is just way out of the junior tantrics league. There are two immediate casualties here. First, the local temple priest, who is just walking back to his temple, gets caught right in their path. The coffin opens up, and he is abducted in complete dead silence. Second is the junior tantric himself. He tries to hold his ground, he's chanting as these cloaked figures surround him, but his ritual is violently shattered.
And the tantric's actual fate? It is pure nightmare fuel. When the sounds finally stop and the villagers creep out of their houses, the scene is horrifying. The tantric hasn't just been killed, he's been turned into this frozen clay-like statue. The accounts say his face had literally burst open in terror, and then, right in front of the villagers, his body just vanishes into thin air. I mean, if you wanted stark proof of how outmatched these people are against the Nishimolo, that is definitely it.
All right, Section 4. Meghna's Unsolved Mystery.
Let's rewind just a tiny bit to earlier that night. Remember that 2 a.m. excursion? Meghna, Ishita, and Anuj were exploring the old royal palace ruins. While they were poking around, a door creaks open, and this manic guy in a black cloak steps out. He's holding this totally bizarre, creepy doll, taking these heavy, exaggerated breaths, and he literally chases the three of them out of the palace. Anuj tries to brush it off, saying it's just a local madman. But come on, after hearing about the Nishimolo, a guy in a dark cloak suddenly feels dangerously significant, doesn't it?
And this is where it gets crazy, because Meghna seems to be the focal point for all of this. Her ties to the lower are totally inexplicable. First, she was having these incredibly vivid dreams of the magical banyan tree before she even knew it existed. Second, she seemed to be the primary target of that cloaked stalker at the ruins. And third, this is the wildest part. When she finally manages to fall asleep that night, she has a terrifying nightmare where she is wandering through a desolate forest wearing the exact same clothes as the vanished princess from the 1600s.
Meanwhile, miles away in some secluded cave, the senior tantric suddenly snaps awake from his deep meditation. He senses that his disciple, the junior tantric, has met a horrifying end, and his realization is just grim. He delivers probably the most chilling line of the whole story. We must go there ourselves, otherwise an apocalypse will come. He knows that the Nishimoto aren't just out grabbing random locals anymore. They're waking up as the starting gun for a massive, cataclysmic event.
So we're left staring at a massive puzzle here. Think about it. We've got a 400-year-old deadly curse, a 400-year-old cure, and a modern city girl dreaming the memories of a vanished royal. How exactly does Meghna fit into this ancient web? Why did the Nishimolo choose the exact moment she arrived to finally wake up? And with the senior tantric currently racing to the village, is there any actual way to stop this ancient apocalypse? I'm going to leave you to ponder that terrifying mystery. Keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.